Hello everybody, this is Jasmina, and in this video I'm going to talk about using Qigmen um, properties for special purposes, and these are purposes um, that you are going to be manifesting about. And the thing is some people have a naturally high ability to manifest, and others have great difficulty. They can try and try and try, and they just never seem to get any results. Now, your Batsa can help you determine your natal ability to manifest basically whenever you want to. But they do say that practice can strengthen the ability regardless of your natal level. However, I would like to say that you can multiply 0 by any number and you still end up with 0. So if you have a 0 natal level, you probably are not going to get much return when you manifest, even if you repeatedly manifest. It may grow some, but it doesn't grow very fast. Now, the method I'm discussing here relies on the Qigmen day chart's properties. And you are using those energies rather than your innate ability to connect to your guardian spirit. Now, your natal chart will tell you your level of connection to your guardian spirit. It can be anywhere from 0 to 100. And of course, 100 means your every waking moment you are communicating with your guardian spirit. 0 means you two are somebody's in a cell phone region where you have no bars. You know, one of you is in a place with no bars, and it's usually you because the guardian spirit can communicate with others. Now, I can't guarantee this works well for everybody, especially those have extremely low natural ability to manifest. But I can test this out because I'm a person that has a 0%. I have no element at all in my chart that I need to be able to connect to my guardian spirit. So, and I would say this is true. I've not found manifesting works for me at all. It's, you know, I would rather waste my time, not waste my time, use my time to do research rather than trying to manifest because it doesn't work. Now, the way you manifest in this particular way, most of the time when you're manifesting to your guardian spirit, you back to the guardian spirit. While here, you're going to back to the direction of the day's sector that has the Qigmen properties that you need. And I think this will become clearer as we go along. Which properties you will need depends on what your problem or your issue is. So you have to know what's going on. You have to know where your problem lies in, just in general. The hour chart can be used, but the day chart gives you more versatility as you can work the entire day with the same energy. And it's, the hour chart can be very inconvenient at times. So after you manifest back into that, whichever sector that will end up being in, you should face your success direction, and you get that from your personal 8 mansions, and you can just Google that, and I've got a video too, but you can just Google it. And you want to be in a good sector of your residence, and then you're going to either start thinking, planning, or doing. And it depends on what stage you are in solving your problem, which one of these 3 you're going to do. Now, you continue to work on the following days until you solve the problem. Sometime it'll take a while before you have a real breakthrough, but it usually happens relatively quickly. You may find that it's a pretty tough problem and it's going to take you a while to solve, but still you're making headway. If after 2 months you basically make no progress, everything is the same as it was, it's usually time to manifest again. But if you are making headway, you just keep working. And the thing is that if you're not making headway at all after 2 months, it probably means that you either misinterpreted what signal you were getting, or you actually knew what the problem was. I mean, it was kind of obvious, but you just didn't want to tackle it. So you said, well, I'm going to try something else instead. That's human nature. If it's a really tough problem, it's really hard for you to decide to do it. I understand fully. Now, in some cases, you may need a manifest to pinpoint a cause of your issue. In this case, your first manifestation should be to guide you to understand the true cause of your problem. I mean, you might have even a string of things that you think, well, it could be this, this, or this, but you don't know which one. This manifestation, and you say something like, show me show me the way I can solve this problem, or show me what is the nature of the problem I'm having with whatever. This is the kind of thing you would manifest. So after you manifest, here you probably are going to be doing more thinking and meditating, maybe a bit of research, but it's not usually doing so much at this point. You have to pinpoint a problem before you can solve it, because otherwise you may try applying a bunch of different things and you get so confused you don't know what's working, what's not working. Now, if you need it, you can have a second manifestation that can help you implement the solution. But the second manifestation may not be needed unless you know what the problem is now, but you don't even know how to start to solve it. Then you can manifest to guide you to finding the right solution. So this is, most people only have to manifest once, but there are certainly a lot of people that want to be sure they're going, they want to be sure they're using the right tools to solve their problem. Double manifestation is fine, but you don't start the second one until you're sure you know what the problem is. And so basically, that second manifestation is to find the information you need to solve your issue. So this is the table that will help you find what level you have as an innate ability to manifest. So you'll find your Daymaster here. Most people will probably look at it in this column. And then you're going to look at your natal level of the element that's across from it. And now Joey Yap will actually, he does a pretty good job with this. He does list it only, the Chinese character for the element is only, and it's only in Chinese, but it's either going to be DW or DO. That's what these are. So he does list it. He will say what this represents, which 10 God this represents to you. And this is the 10 God right here. Now, in this case, I do like using Joey Yap's charts, simply because they give things in a more easy to understand method. Now, nobody I know of, except for maybe Joey Yap, really understands how he gets the percentages. It's not clear what it's a percentage of, but that's okay, because we're just looking for a rough number. We're not looking for exact numbers. So if you have, let's say you have a Yin Wood Daymaster, and you look over at your Yin Earth, and let's say it's 80%. Well, that means that you're above 70%, so that level is high. So you can manifest quite easily. Now remember, this number for whatever the element is could be anywhere between 0 and 100. Now between 40 and 60, this is considered average. Anything below 30% is considered low. And the reason why I recommend, again, Joey Yap is he does give it to you in percentages. Now, there is an exception. If you have a chief or 9 heavens as your guardian of destiny, that's what Joey Yap calls what I call the guardian spirit. It gives you 100% regardless of your elemental level. So that is one thing to note. Now, You can find this, and it will be listed again in Chinese, but it'll also be labeled this way too. It's on the bottom right-hand side of the second page of the Joey app analysis. There's two sets of bar charts. It's usually the one on the left, but it'll have a label that says natal, and that's the one you look at. And the Guardian of Destiny is listed in the top box with your life star, and that's on the first page. It's on the right-hand side, close to the top, not exactly at the top, but close. And there's a bunch of things listed to the left of your life star. That's what he calls it. And that's where you'll find the guardian spirit or guardian of destiny, and it's the last one in that list. Now, DW is direct wealth, and that's how Joey App will put it. He'll say direct wealth. He will give this, and then in parentheses, he'll say direct wealth. And if you are any yang, it doesn't matter which element, but if you have a yang day master, you're going to look at your DW. If you have a yin day master, you're going to look at your DO. And it's as simple as that. Quite straightforward. Now, this is my day master. I need to look at my level of gung metal. It is 0. I have absolutely no gung metal in my chart, in my natal chart. So I will say this is true. I don't manifest. I just can't. It doesn't work. I never seem to get through. I don't do wishful thinking. I haven't done wishful thinking since I was a kid. And I think that's because even back then I knew wishful thinking doesn't work. So the way I make progress is I say, well, I want to do this and I'm going to figure out how to do it. And I just get to work. I'm someone who doesn't like to sit around and do nothing. I like to be busy. Now, my 0% means that on an average day, I have no connection at all to my guardian spirit or to the universe to help me. So I don't rely on them. I just say it's up to me. That's my life mantra, I guess you would call it. So what I'm going to try to do doing this is I'm going to find a date with specific combinations of Chi-Men properties in one given sector to manifest effectively, and then I choose a good day for action. That is how I will be solving problems. Right now, I don't have tons of problems to solve, so I'm going to have to figure out something. I have one problem, but it's not one that necessarily lends itself good to this particular thing. Now, again, which Chi-Men day properties to use will depend on the nature of your problem. But you can use it for health, relationships, or wealth or career matters. This can be used for any type of problem. You just have to make sure you're using the right properties. Now, I do prefer the day chart rather than the hour chart because I can use any part of the day. I can take a break if I have to make dinner or have dinner or whatever. I'm not going to eat into that 1 hour. And if you use the hour chart, you can, but it's only there for 2 hours and then it's gone. And so this is very useful for busy people, especially because the hour chart can be at very inconvenient hours. So again, yes, you can use the hour chart, but it's only in effect for those 2 hours on our clock. And you really should check to make sure you need to check that, so it's a solar time that you're going to get with the hour chart. You have to convert that to your local clock time. The day chart, you have the whole day and you don't have to worry so much about the clock. Now, you can get free day charts at the Metaphysics digital site by registering. You can register for free, but you only have 4 days of the day charts at a time. And then you have to wait until another, like at that 3rd day, you can do it again and you get another, you get that day and another 3 days. So if you don't want to pay anything, you can do that. of course, if you pay, you can, I think, do, I don't know how long, a year's time at least ahead of time. I don't really remember, but it's it's doable um, without having to pay. Now, our chart is free many places, but again, you only have those 2 hours. And oftentimes you can't get the hour chart ahead of time. You actually have to check it when you want to use it. And so it's really inconvenient. This is actually a better way. And they also can give you the hour chart if you want it. So, you know, uh, Metaphysics Digital isn't too bad for that. Now, the day charts, any day chart can be completely identified with 4 pieces of information. One is going to list either the chart will be a yin chart or a yang chart. And just like we have with the flying stars, the day flying stars, we have a break at the solstices. So yin charts are in effect from summer solstice day until the day before winter solstice, and the yang ones are from winter solstice to the day before the summer solstice. And you'll also have a number somewhere between 1 and 9. And when we're in a period of the yin charts, the numbers go backwards as the days progress, and the yang charts go forward as the days progress, just like the flying stars. However, they don't necessarily, there are some breaks here, but they occur at very specific times. And they occur when we change from an upper cycle to a middle cycle, or a middle cycle to the lower cycle, or when we go from lower to upper, that means we also change from yin to yang, or vice versa. During these switches, you can have a break in the numbering system, but then the next day it still goes in the same pattern. So each cycle lasts approximately 61 days, give or take, and this is where the break in the numbering can occur. So the last thing you need is the day pillar. So this means that a Yang 1 upper cycle wood rat day will have a different day chart than a Yang 1 upper cycle water rooster day. These days are 9 days apart, but they have different charts, even though they share the Yang 1 and they share the upper cycle. So, but these 4 things, yin or yang, the number, the upper, middle, lower, and the day pillar, completely defines your chart. So Joey Yap does have a book called Chimin Dunja Day Charts. It has all the day charts, and there is some directions in the beginning, but his date windows probably are not accurate for all years. And this is because I think you actually need to use the 10,000 year calendar to get it 100% right, but you only have problems when you're doing transitions between the 3 cycles, or from a yin to a yang, or yang to a yin. So it's mostly right. So it's good enough as long as you don't need to use a day where the transition happens. You can use his book and any tongshu, and that'll work. Now, there is also disagreements in the day charts between the Chinese Metasoft site and the Metaphysics Digital site. Now, the Metaphysics Digital site clearly uses that table from Joey Yap's book, and this is the pages that it's on. Even though all 3 of these methods, the Chinese Metasoft site, Joey Yap, and Metaphysics Digital, all say they use the San Yuan method. So it's not a method problem. It is something else. All the disagreements occur during the changes from yin to yang and the transitions between the upper, middle, and lower cycles. This is where all the disagreements occur. Away from those transition dates, they agree completely. Now, provided you don't need a date near one of the changes, you can use the 4 free dates from the Metaphysics Digital site, and you just have to check it regularly. So, that would be my recommendation, because why spend money when you don't have to? Now, unfortunately, the Metaphysics Digital site does not label the chart with like the yin 1, 2, 3 or yang 1, 2, 3. It doesn't mention the cycle, but the day pillar is listed. And it's listed like a truncated Batsa chart. Now, the Chinese Metasoft does list the chart in the standard way like Joey Yap does. And it's actually more consistent with all the changes when you look at, the flying star chart and all this stuff. And I'll talk a little bit more about this. I believe that consulting the 10,000-year calendar would resolve this discrepancy, but I still haven't understood how to use it yet. I actually have a book, and it is far from clear. Basically, I think if you can get one date definitively stated, I think I could actually write a code to do this. But that one date isn't very clear in the book. So, and I would like to start that way because it just makes it coding easier. So here is the actual table. I mean, it's not Xeroxed or anything. It is a facsimile of the table that is in Joey Yap's book on his pages A5 through A10. Now they have a lot more information there, but these are the date windows. And these are the yang, these are the yin. You've got the upper, middle, lower, upper, middle, lower. Very, very easy to understand. Now, here's where the problem comes in. The Chinese Metasoft site in 2025 has both the Qimeng day charts and the flying star charts change at the winter and summer solstices. They both flip from, basically yin to yang on the exact same date. The Chinese Metasoft, or the Metaphysics Digital site agrees with the day flying stars. Between the Chinese Metasoft site and the Metaphysics Digital site, they have the same flying star chart, the day flying star chart. But they use the date from Joey Yap's book to get the Qimeng day charts. So, and I don't think that's correct. Again, the 10,000-year calendar would resolve this discrepancy, but I really believe that the Chinese Metasoft site is correct because it makes sense. Everything changes. Now, unfortunately, I'm unsure if a non-paying viewer can see any day charts at the Chinese Metasoft site. So you can experiment. You can see. Now, here's just one example. December 21st of this year is a wood rat day. Everybody agrees on that. But in the Chinese Metasoft site, it's a Yang 1 upper cycle structure. But at the Metaphysics Digital site, it says it's a Yin 6 lower cycle. But they both state that December 1st has a day star of 1. And we're talking about the number in the center. That's all you need to know the full day chart. So there is some weird difference between these two. And I would be willing to bet $1. I mean, I'm not a big bettor that the Chinese Metasoft site is correct. Now, let's get back to actually thinking about Qimeng. If the door is part of a formation that you're looking for, and it isn't always part of it, but if it is, and that door has an envoy in that sector that you need to use, then it will give you a much bigger return on manifestations and activations. So if you look at a few days and you know one is coming up that's better, it actually has the envoy, I would use that one, unless it's a clash day for you, of course. If the door is a positive door for your purpose, and that there is no definitive positive negative except for maybe success, so you have to know what's positive and negative for your purpose. The envoy will help too, even if it's not part of the formation. But if it's a negative door and there's an envoy there, it tends to make the day much more problematic. So it's something that you do have to be aware of. And you should try to avoid, depending how important it is, you should try to avoid some of the negative doors, especially if they're not part of the formation. Now, DE, if it turns out that that sector is in DE, it does reduce the effectiveness, but in general, it's still worth using. And some of these have long periods between dates, so this is why it's worth using. Now, if it's a clash day for you on one of these special dates, you just want to manifest, think, maybe meditate, quietly plan, anything like that is okay, but you do not activate. Activating on a clash day usually means you end up failing because there's so many problems you just give up. Now, for health problems, so here we're getting to the nitty-gritty. For health problems, the key feature is to use a day chart with the heart star. The heart star is also called the doctor star. And it has and we also have to look for some other features there. It's not just the heart star, because the heart star is in every chart. Now, let's say you are facing an operation that carries an above average risk of a negative outcome, but you have a health problem that would be solved by the operation. And it's not an emergency. If it's an emergency situation, you just get the operation. And because if you wait for one of these days to come along, and they don't come along too often, then you are probably already be dead. So if it's an emergency situation, just get it done. So then what you need for this would be the heart star and either the chief or the 9 heavens, and have these occur in the northeast or the north sector of the Chimin chart. Now, at all costs, you want to avoid the southwest and the northwest, the southwest and the northwest, and you want to avoid the death door or the open door. Now, the open door is usually considered positive, but for an operation, it's negative because your wound won't heal. It probably will get infected, and you'll be in the hospital as they try to, take care of the infection. And you could have, significant scarring, and it could be significant enough that it actually makes it harder for you to do certain normal movements. So open door is really bad for surgery. Now, other sectors other than the southwest and the northwest can be used, but in that case, you want to have the life door or the rest door. Now, northeast is the home of the life door sector, and north is the home of the rest door sector. And that's why these two will also work. But, life door is fine, rest door is fine. And in fact, if you can get them in those two sectors, it's even better. So, like I say, if you have the life or rest door in either one of the two sectors, it's better. And if it has an envoy, it's even better. So if you're using a different sector, a life door or rest door is highly preferable. I would say that, unless it's something that's very troublesome, I would try to wait until you could get this or one of these, and they come along not super often, but they do come along on a somewhat regular basis. Now, this would be the day that you schedule the operation, and you do want to use the day chart because you can't count on being in a 2-hour window. And if it's a really, profound operation, you may be in the operation for longer than 2 hours, and then you've lost the energy. So you want to use the day chart. And you would manifest on that day before you leave home to go to the operation, and you just manifest that I will come out of the operation with no bad side effects. Simple as that, Now, so again, we need the heart star, either the chief or 9 heavens, and preferably in these two sectors. And so I have some dates here, some real dates. And we have the heaven, the 9 heaven. We have the rest door, which makes it even better. And it's in the northeast, which is where the life door's home thing is. And we have the heart star. So you all have the heart star. It is a lot easier to find a date with 9 heavens than it is with the chief, at least in 2026. And but here we have rest door, life door, rest door, life door. So we have any one of these days are good days. Of course, I do have listed what day it is. If you have a pig in your chart, this is not a good day. If you have a rooster in your chart, this is not good. Again, this is not good if you have a pig, and not good if you have an ox. And so basically, if this were me, this is the only day that is good of these 4 dates that are listed, because I have a pig and an ox in my chart. So now, remember, when you manifest, in this case, you can be anywhere in your residence. You don't have to be in that sector, but you have to back to that sector. You can even be outside and do this. Um, but you're going to back to that sector, and in this case, it would be the north or the northeast. I mean, northwest. Yeah, northeast. Now, backing to the north means you face south, and so you would want to know where, well, I mean, basically where you are, what is going on. You would have to know where true south is. If you back to the northeast, it means you're facing southwest. Now, this is usually easiest in your residence where you've already determined your facing direction, usually down to the degree with a satellite. And you might have to do a UTM to true north depending on where you are on the planet. But do not solely rely on your phone's compass. There's declination, which is the difference between true north and compass north. There are some places on Earth where it's over 20%. You can easily back to the wrong direction if you're looking at your phone. And if you're inside, even if you're outside and there's any kind of electrical lines, and they now bury them often, and you don't even know they're there, they will also mess up your phone. So, and it can cause a lot of errors, and you could be backing to the wrong direction totally. If the satellite is the way to actually find it, if you know what direction you're facing inside your house, then you can use your phone's compass. But you need to correct for it, because I know that when I have put my tablet down, which does actually have a compass in it, it doesn't, it reads about, it's actually almost 20 degrees off. Maybe not quite that much, but it depends on whether or not our AC system, the heating cooling system, is on or off. It changes 3 degrees just by itself, whether or not it's on or off. And it is, well, it's at least 10 degrees off. It's gotten a little better because our declination has reduced. But I know if I'm pointing towards this direction, towards like the front of my house, I know exactly what direction I'm pointed in. And I know if I go 15 degrees from that, I'm in the next subsector, and so forth. And so you can use your phone's compass, but you don't trust the number. You have to correct. Now, there are other health concerns, of course, like starting an exercise program or a healthier diet, but you don't have to use those dates. Those dates are for like the dates I showed you, like for an operation. Those are for really, really significant things. You can just use a simple good quality yin formation date selection day. There's the Moon Noble and the Yin Noble days. Those are really good for starting a diet or starting an exercise program. And of course, you want to have good properties during that day. And of course, I've explained all this, but it's very complicated, and that's why I have members who can get all this information in 1 month windows, all year long. So it makes it a lot easier. But if you don't want to pay for it, then you have to do the work yourself. That's all there is to it. I do live in a capital system, and I can't afford to lose money on my business. Now, waiting for a special Chiman chart is not necessary in this case, and you need not manifest really unless you know that you have a strong tendency to give up before you see the results you want. And so then you manifest to be able to stick it out, to have the fortitude to keep going. Now, if you have trouble sticking to a healthier diet or an exercise program, you can manifest with your back to the heart star direction, or to your success direction on any good quality moon noble or yin noble day. Either one works. And uh, and but here you still have to know what your the day chart is, and that's fine. If you're going to do it on a certain day, you've got, with the metaphysics digital, you have 4 days ahead. You can kind of plan a bit. Now, relationship problems are a bit more tricky. It depends on the nature of the relationship problem. But one thing we'll look for is that six harmony God, or the spirit, deity. Different people call it different things, and some other properties too. Now, if you wish to keep a relationship but you're not happy, one thing I can tell you is that this will not change anybody else. It can only change you. So if you're going to use this, what it means is you're going to have to change yourself to fit the relationship. So then you need to find six harmony in the Southwest. That's where the death door sector is its home base. And remember, death means change. So you need to change yourself. So you're going to use those two. Now, changing yourself to fit a relationship is usually quite hard, and you end up going back to the way you were because that's your nature. So most of the time it's not worth it. And I don't recommend this, but there may be reasons why you want to do this at least temporarily. But if you're seeking to understand the nature of the relationship problem and you really don't quite know what's going on, you may have a couple of inklings, but you're really not sure. Then you're going to use the six harmony God and the assistant star with the delusion door, and that can be in any sector. So that makes it a little easier to do, because when you don't have a sector restricting it, you often have more dates. Now, if you're seeking forgiveness for something you want to be forgiven for, then use the Heavenly Pardon Day instead. They come once every 2 months maximum, but there's usually a few months where you'll get 1 day each month. Now, again, let's say we want to know the relationship problem. What is going on? Why is the relationship not working? Again, you're going to use the six harmony, the delusion door, and the assistant star. I haven't listed the assistant star, but it's there. So this one, there's a lot more dates that comply because the sector is not restricted. So on December 1st, we have one. If you have a dog in your chart, you can't use this day, but you can look for these properties later. You're going to back to the southeast. And that's because this is where this sector is. This is the southeast sector. So that's where you're going to manifest to. And then after you're done, you're going to do some meditation or stuff, but you're going to go to you should do this in your best sector anyway. But if you can't, you go to a good sector of your house and you face your success direction and you start meditating and thinking and maybe doing a little research if these are the types of problems you're getting into, what is the source? And when you hit upon the right answer, you usually know it. So, but it requires some thinking, some time. That is why I like using the day, because you may only have time to do a manifestation, and then you're busy for a couple hours, and then you're able to sit down and actually, start thinking. That is very normal in today's life. Now, if money is a problem or it's wealth related, then you have your current circumstances require different types of Chi Min Day charts. So it's not just one case fits all. So if you already know the nature of your issue, but don't know what to do, this can help. If you know there's a problem, but you don't really quite know what the source is, you probably think there's maybe 3 or 4 things, but you're not sure which one is the most important one, or if it's only one, this can help. Now, typically, you again only need to manifest once, But of course, after you manifest, it's not going to automatically happen. You actually have to put in some effort to solve the problem, because this is not magic. It's to guide you to find your path to solve the problem. Again, if there's no improvement in 2 months, you probably need to manifest again because you've gone down the wrong road. And maybe what oftentimes you say, well, this really sounds like this is the nature of the problem, but I don't really like that, so let me try something else. A lot of people do that because they don't want to face something negative about themselves, and so they may actually already know what the problem is, but just don't want to admit it. Now, difficulty, it has several symptoms, and depending on what the symptoms are, it puts you into different categories where you're going to have different ways to solve it, or different charts to look for to solve it. So this happens to a lot of young people, and this doesn't necessarily mean this is your problem. But if you're older and you're still having this problem, then this is a significant problem. So basically, it's inconsistent work. You either get fired or let go, laid off from a job repeatedly. And once in a while, it's no big deal. But if it happens all the time, you're laid off a couple times a year. Basically, it's the inability to find steady work. There are people that are like this. Now, there's of course a lot of possible reasons why this is, and not always is it the fault of the person. It may be where they live. It may be the times. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why this can happen. Now, another condition is you have a stable job, but you're spending more than you're earning. And this is very, very dangerous, because then you go way into debt, and you'll never be able to really buy a house because your credit score will be too low. Now, there's another one where you have a stable job, you're able to live within your means, so you're not, you're not in trouble like this person is, but they can't seem to go any farther. They're stuck. That's the feeling. They feel stuck. They can't seem to get a good promotion or a good raise. They're just stuck where they are, and they want to do more, but they can't seem to get there. And then there are people who don't feel like they're stuck. They're actually making progress. They're getting raises and at least some minor promotions, but they find themselves missing out on opportunities that they can see, but they can't seem to take advantage of. And this can actually include anything from relationships or jobs. It could even have to do with health, but most of the time it's relationships or jobs. And most of the time they just let it pass them by before they do anything, or that's usually what the problem is. Now, this is like basically the last one, fear of losing what you have by making bad decisions, or you have a lot more wealth than most people, but you still want more. You still feel like you need more. Of course, you don't need more, but you feel like you do. And there's a lot of people like that who are quite rich. Now, in this case, the source of the problems is usually either missing some skills that you need, and that could be interpersonal skills, or it could be confidence. You just you're too timid, and you don't know if you can actually do the job, and it shows. So and the confidence, it varies a little bit through here. I mean, in this case, it's you feel insecure, so you buy stuff you don't need that is too expensive for the income because you want to impress people. That is a confidence problem. So it all depends on exactly what's going on. So, and I'll go in a little more detail in a bit, and that'll explain why I choose certain properties that you're going to be looking for in Achievement Chart. Now here, you're either out of sync, which is maybe kind of rare. Most of the times you're just too busy. If you have kids and a job, you probably are just too busy. And then there's ways to basically find good people to help you. That's basically what's going to happen here. And here it's just basically insecurity. And again, uh, at least for the first one, you find somebody to help you, and here you help other people. So that usually helps you see the world in a more realistic manner. Now, you only work on the problems you have. You don't use all of these if you don't have the problem. If you don't have the problem, don't worry about it. It doesn't apply to you. You don't need to do anything. And in fact, if you have none of these problems, you don't have to watch this video at all. You know, you you're good, but you at least know it's here and you can go back to it if a problem develops. Now, this is basically about feeling abundance. And it doesn't mean if you do feel your life is abundant, it doesn't mean you stop striving to make more of your life. Actually, when you feel you have abundance, it's a lot easier for you to follow your passions. You feel happier, and that makes you feel more abundant. And so it's a nice circle. Now, feeling abundance also makes you feel more powerful, and you don't have the need to be controlled by others or be admired by others. So you are self-confident, and you don't really care if somebody thinks that, for example, they think you're poor. You know let's say you know you're not poor, but it doesn't bother you that they think you're poor. Totally fine with it. Now, in short, feeling abundance makes you a happier and better person. So this is what we're trying to go for when it comes to money problems, is we're trying to help you with abundance. Of course, if you're in that very first stage, then you may not really have abundance, but you need to take some steps to get there. Now, the most important thing for doing anything when you're trying to fix a money problem is forgive yourself for any mistakes or regrets from your past, because you cannot change your past. Learn from your mistakes rather than dwell on them. And if you really can't seem to stop dwelling on them, you might actually need some help. Usually meditation will help, but some people have a hard time meditating, and it depends on what kind of environment they're in. If you're in a very noisy place, manifestation and meditation can be a little bit hard, but you do what you can. So let's first look at the one where you're having inconsistent work. So if you do need to, you can discover the source of your issue if you don't know why you're having problems. Now I'm going to list some possible ones that seem rather obvious. It's not a full list. There can be other reasons, but it's more than likely at least something of this is going on. So lack of skills is the most common thing. And so basically you need to find a way to learn more. So you're looking for a mentor, basically. You want to find somebody who is willing to maybe not pay you much, but maybe not even pay you at all, but you become basically an apprentice type of thing. They usually have to pay you something, either that they give you room and board, something like this. You know, they have to make sure you can live, but they see something in you that makes them think you're worth it. And that is a very personal thing. You may have to look a while to find your mentor, but you can find them. Now, this is a very common problem for people who live in rural areas or in small cities that are far from big cities. You live in an area where there are too few jobs for the people who want jobs. Super simple. You've got to move. You know, I saw that in my youth because of the situation the country was in at the time, and I had no trouble moving. I was totally ready to go, but there were a lot of people who didn't want to move, and ultimately they did because they had to. So and it's kind of sad, but it was a very small town, uh, like 100 people graduating from high school, and it was the only high school in 30 plus miles all around in each direction, so it's 60 miles across. So yeah, it's very rural. But another thing is lack of self-confidence to be able to challenge yourself. And you're scared to try to learn something new because you're afraid if you can't learn it, you'll feel even worse. Uh, but also there were a lot of people in my class that, my high school class, that were afraid to move to a bigger city. So you have to have enough self-confidence to challenge yourself. And that may need some real thinking. But hopefully you can challenge yourself with little things and you can see that you can do them. And that's usually how you work your way up. Now, poor health, that is a significant chronic health problem, can be a real problem. Substance abuse can also be a problem. And of course, you have to find help. Now, these are both health problems. The one thing about substance abuse is that it is something that you can actually conquer with a lot of help and a lot of courage. That's what you really need. And it is one thing that, I mean, if you're an alcoholic, you'll always be an alcoholic, but that doesn't mean you have to drink. That's what it boils down to. If you're in really poor health and you really can't, I don't think anybody really expects you to do this. Maybe you can work part-time, maybe you can start your own little business or something like this. Uh, this is but in both of these cases, at least in the short term, you have to rely on your country's safety net, or you have to rely on family. So, and I hope that you have that ability to do that. Otherwise, this one is the hardest one. Now, let's say you actually know what your problem is. So then you need to, instead of manifest to discover it, you're going to manifest to do whatever it takes to overcome the problem. I would say lack of self-confidence is the hardest one to overcome. But you have to challenge yourself, start small, and once you succeed, that helps build your self-confidence. And that can help with a lot of these things. Even with this last one, if it's like substance abuse, if you can stay sober for a certain amount of time, it gets easier. It's never easy, but it gets easier. So this is what you do. And of course, I think they say with substance abuse, it's you take it every single day at a time, and you just say, I won't do it today. If I still can't handle it, maybe I'll do it tomorrow. That kind of thing. And usually that one day is enough. Now, what are you looking for? You're looking for 9 Earth and the Ambassador. And we don't care what sector it's in. Um, and it would be nice to have an open door um, uh, or a good door. It's nice to have it, but it's okay to even be in the Northwest. I'm sorry, the Southwest, where you have the Death Doors home, because you probably do need to do some change. But we really don't worry too much about the sector. We're just looking for these two. The 9 Earth helps with stability because it's Earth, and the Ambassador represents a noble person to help you. So you need to find somebody that can help lead you out of your mess. That's basically what the Ambassador will help you with. Now, we do have a day, November 24th. You're going to back to the south. If you have a rabbit in your chart, you're not going to be able to use this day because you clash. Well, you can use it for manifestation, you just can't activate it. Now, once you find a day that has these properties in the same sector, you're going to manifest to that direction. I mean, you're going to back to that direction and manifest. So that's what this information I just told you. And after manifesting, and actually you can be in your good sector to manifest, but make sure that if you're going to do something, you need to be in a good sector and you want to face your success direction. And here, if it's you're not quite sure, you can work on a list of possible sources. If you already know the source of the problem, work on finding help for the problem. I mean, you can, basically, let's say you're in a small town. What you need to do is to talk to the people that you know and see if they have a relative who's living in a bigger city and has a job. Maybe they can connect you with a job. I mean, that's the kind of thing you have to do. And that's basically how most of my classmates ended up finding work. Now, this is the next one. If you have a stable job, but you're spending more than you're bringing in. Uh, Lack of skills is usually a problem, but there can be other reasons. Maybe you've got too many family obligations, and that can be a problem. But still, you need to gain skills to improve your income capacity. That is the kind of job you're able to do, which will give you a raise. And hopefully, you can get enough of a raise that you stop overspending. Now, lack of self-confidence is a very, very common cause. And I've seen several people that do this. This lack of self-confidence makes you want to have stuff that's expensive so you can impress people, and you actually buy it. You don't really need it. And in the end, you end up usually having to stop using it because you really can't afford it. And I mean, I've seen this happen many, many times. I don't have this problem because I don't care if people think I'm poor, and have been poor for most of my life. So, but it's okay. They're less likely to ask me for money because they think I'm poor. Now, general lack of financial knowledge or budgeting could be the problem, and that's especially true if you haven't been able to take a class. Maybe your high school didn't never talked about this, or maybe your parents weren't good at handling money either. But basically, you need to know exactly how much your basic needs are, and have it written down. You should only spend 10% over that amount of your basic needs on stuff you want. And the rest of it should be saved or invested for emergencies, especially in period 9 where things are so unstable. It's very likely that you might be out of a job for a while. So you really, really have to make sure that you have a safety net. And they say 6 months of basic expenses should be saved before you even spend that 10% over your basic expenses for things that you want. So this is really important, because otherwise somebody loses their job, they lose usually their apartment or their house. They're out on the street. If they owe on the car, they usually lose the car. It can be terrible. So you really need to have a cushion. And this is the biggest thing you can do for yourself. And that helps you rethink of what you want to spend money on, because you don't have enough money to waste. Now, if you do know which, I mean, there are other problems too. I haven't got them all, but if any one of these are your problems, and you already know it, then you manifest to do whatever it takes to overcome the problem. Lack of self-confidence, again, is the hardest one to overcome, but also being able to truly distinguish between wants and needs is crucial for a good future, a good financial future. Otherwise, you're always going to you're almost always going to have not enough money. I mean, you may get some, but then it's all gone. You spend it on something that you have fun with for a couple months and then you don't care anymore. And it's truly wasted money. Now, what you need here is you need the 9 Earth, the Destructor, and the Life Door. We have one on December 7th. You're going to back to the south. If you have a dragon in your chart, you can't really use this day for other than manifestation. And this is these 4 things identify the chart. And the Destructor star helps you break the bad habit of overspending. That's why we want the Destructor star. The 9 Earth gives you stability for continued earnings and saving and investing, so you become more stable in how you're treating money. And the Life Door brings you more income. And in period 9, it's often a side gig. So you just realize you have to do more. And when you do more, you either get a raise or you get a side gig. Now again, you back to the direction where these properties lie, and I've given you this, but if you have to use a different day, you can find one. Then you move to a good sector, face your success directions, and in this case, I would say start listing your basic expenses. All the stuff, entertainment, eating out, unlimited cell phone data, these are not basic expenses. Basic expenses basically is the minimal as possible roof over your head that you can live with. That is, if you've got 10 people in your family, you're going to have an expensive place. If you are just by yourself, you can live in a studio apartment. Then, of course, you have to have utilities, in most cases, at least water. And you also have enough food to keep you from going hungry. I mean, you should be hungry every time you eat because that's a healthy way to live. But you shouldn't be hungry for hours and have nothing to eat. Now, you also have to have some money for transportation to and from work. That can be taking a bus, the subway. Walking is free, but you have to live close enough to where you work. And biking is also free. Well, you have to have a bike, but it is also rather dangerous unless you can ride on small streets, not on major streets. Now, this is that third category. You have a stable job, you live in the means, but you feel stuck. This is the key. You feel stuck. You can't seem to move forward. And so oftentimes, I mean, if you knew what the problem was, you would do something. This one, oftentimes you don't know the source of your problem. And so most people probably have to do this manifestation to figure out why they're not able to get a better paying job or a promotion. Lack of self-confidence is the most common problem here. You may not apply for a position that you can actually perform because you're not certain you can do it. So you just say, well, what if I do this and I fail, I'm going to end up in a worse situation. Most of the time, if you think you can do it, you can do it. If you had this idea, if I can't do it, this would be really bad. Unless you're absolutely certain you cannot do it, then you should apply for the promotion. You just should, for the new job. The worst thing that can happen is they say no, but you're still in the same situation, so it's okay. All business people give you time to ramp up, so they're not going to expect you to do 100% right away. You learn, you really, really concentrate if you get the promotion. But a lot of people don't even apply because they're scared they can't do the job. Now, lack of skills can be a problem, and that might be one of the reasons why you feel like you're not sure you can do the job. But you are able to gain skills a lot more easily than the other 2 levels because you already have a lot of skills. And gaining new skills when you have a lot of skills is a lot easier. It's just the way life is. Now, if you do know which is the problem, and my guess is this is most people's problem, is that you need to manifest to do whatever it takes to overcome the problem. Maybe you've got more than one, but most of the time it's just one. Big thing, stop comparing yourself to others and go with your strengths. emphasize, perhaps you have certain skills that you think are really good for a position that you want to apply for, and also say, I've picked up these skills here and there, and I can pick up whatever skills are needed here. And usually they may ask you some questions, answer them truthfully. This also tells you what you might need to learn if you don't have the skills they want. At least now you know exactly what to do to be able to get the promotion next time. So you have to put yourself out there, and it can be hard for some people. Now, constantly gaining new skills and new information is the only way to keep up with your colleagues, and especially the new hires. So manifest for the energy to keep for the energy and the interest to keep learning, because learning takes time and it takes effort, and I understand that, but this is what you have to do, especially in period 9. So here we have two possibilities. You can either have the chief or the 9 heavens, and you have the life door, and it has to be in the southwest. And that's because you need to break a bad habit of not letting yourself basically apply for things, or not letting yourself expand your world so that you can actually move up. Because remember, you're feeling stuck. This is the key. You have to become unstuck, and that means you've got to change. So there's two possible dates here. Now this date is probably already passed. I think it has, but we have another date in December. But if you have a tiger in your chart, this is going to be more of a problem. And it's really just your day and your month, your year and your month you need to look at for the tiger. But this is something that I think you can use. And of course, depending on where you are in the situation, it depends on whether you're going to be manifesting to find a problem or manifesting to actually find the solution to the problem you already know you have. So the life door helps with increasing the income and promotion chances. The southwest is at home of the death door sector. It allows the change to happen, and you need to change to move forward. This is the key. You know what you're doing now doesn't work. You've got to change. Now, after manifesting, you can move again to a good sector, face your success direction, and think about why you're stuck and what you need to do to move forward, and do it. Just you have to shift your life. This one, once you break through this, things become a lot easier. So there's one more. Actually, there's two more. Here you're not feeling stuck, but you keep missing out on opportunities, and so the question is, why are you missing out? Now, of course, there are quite a few reasons possible. Lack of self-confidence can still be a problem. You know there's the opportunity there. You just don't trust your judgment. You don't know if it's really a good investment, or a good opportunity. So you say, well, I'm comfortable where I am, that kind of thing. Actually, as long as you're getting promotions, this isn't such a bad thing. It's okay. Now, lack of time is probably most people's issue. You've just got too many things on your plate. Like I said, if you have kids and you're working, you haven't got time to evaluate all this. You really don't. To actually look at an opportunity and really evaluate whether or not it's worth it. You're just too busy. That's all. Now, I would say that most of the people will know why, and it's most likely this is the case. So what you're most likely going to be doing is manifesting to do whatever it takes to overcome the problem. And most people, I will say, don't have the time nor the interest in doing the work it takes to determine a good investment or a good opportunity. But if it's about money, I would say then this is time to stop trying to find good stocks because stocks are so volatile. Good mutual funds are a better thing, and or a trustworthy financial advisor. You can manifest to find a trustworthy one. There is a book, I think it's called Morningstar, that has a lot of information. It's a lot easier to find a good mutual fund than it is to find a good stock. And so this is something that, I mean, you might even just have somebody you know who's doing better. Ask them what mutual funds they're in, if they're in mutual funds, or ask them who their advisor is. You know, just get help. Most people don't have the interest or the time to do this, and I understand that. I didn't either when I was working, so I just well, I was lucky. I was working in a place that actually matched what I put into my retirement account. So that's 100% return automatically, at least in the short term. And, you know, it's definitely worth it. Now, if you can do this, cutting out less productive work is very good. Um, or even the less productive projects that you have can help. You might, if you're in the right situation, you may be able to give that project to somebody else if you are in a, if you're not the lowest rung on the ladder. You can do that, but also you can maybe cut out some things at home so that you don't have so many obligations, so you have more time to think. So that can also help. But this one, a lot of people who are in the, you know, they've got kids, they have their careers going well. This is where they're in. And they usually will be fine in the long run. It's just that they worry. They worry they're missing opportunities. You maybe be a little less worried about that and enjoy what you do have. That's another possible solution. Now, what you need here is the harmony and the assistant. The harmony helps with relationships of all sorts. So this can help you find the right people to help you and the people that you can interact with in a comfortable way and you can trust. And it also can help give you a little healthier relationship to money too. And the assistant stars brings you helpful people to aid in improving things. This is what you're looking for. Uh, December 1st is another good day and that was also for relationships. So this is a good day for either one of these. So, and you're going to back to the Northeast on this particular day. Different days you don't back to the Northeast unless that's the sector where the harmony and assistant happens to be in. Now, after manifesting, of course, you try to determine, you know, face your success direction and try to determine what you need to change or improve and or to find the right people to help you. You know, you just need to get some help if you are really worried, but you can also relax a little too. It may not be as bad as you think. And then this is the last one. This is the fear about losing, you know, what you've saved with bad decisions. And if anything were to apply to me, this would apply to me. Um, but you have a lot more wealth than most people, but you still want more. That's also in the same category. That doesn't apply to me, but you know, the first one may. It's not a very big fear though. Now, basically, you realize you have the skills to make a nest egg and you can overcome setbacks. Now, of course, I'm a lot older now. That It's a lot harder to make up time as you get older because it's almost impossible to get hired, you know, get a regular income back in place because once you're a senior citizen, you know, basically you're stuck with greeting at the Walmart, which doesn't pay you anything. You know, it probably barely covers your gas. Now, if you already have a lot more than you want, think about how much more abundance you have, and you can use the abundance fortune date selection formation to help you with that. But you can still use one of these Cheeman charts, and I'll get to that in a second. Now, this idea, I mean, especially if you're in either of these cases, it's often present in people who have grown up poor or lower middle class. They're just they know what it's like to be poor and they don't want to go back there. And so uh, you're going to manifest for a better sense of security. That can help because you you know unless everybody in the whole country or maybe the whole world is in trouble, usually you've done the right things, you're usually going to be okay. So that can help you relax a little bit. And then if you do know what the problem is, you can manifest to overcome the problems. Now, this one is a little bit different. Sometime you actually have to get professional help if you are excessively worried or you're very obsessed about money. You might need to get professional help, some sort of intervention or um, talking to people who can help you see that your problems are, you can cope with your problems, that, these are not insurmountable. But you can also, especially this first one, is that you can find a good financial advisor to take the burden off of worrying about where all the money goes. Of course, you have to trust them, and that can be a problem too. But um, you know, this is where you may have to get some professional help and basically you find other people who work with the same person and they haven't been messed around with by that person. You can usually trust them. Now, if you're in the second category, start volunteering to help others less fortunate than you. That's my recommendation, because uh, you do see how lucky you are, and most of the time people that are like this, they're very driven, and they work very, very hard. Um, they may not have a very good home life because they're just obsessed with work. But and the other thing is, stop comparing yourself to others. If you're wealthier than most people, know that and be glad, and stop saying, "Oh, this other guy is richer than me." Who cares? You know, that's the attitude you have to adopt. Now, what you're looking for here is Nine Heavens, Ambassador, and Rest. So this one is a bit different. It's a dog day. So if you have a dragon in your chart, in like the year or the month, it is probably not going to work so well for you. So you would only manifest. But this is on December 7th, and you're going to back to the northeast for this particular day. And so the nine heavens actually helps you envision your wealth growing and lasting, and understanding that even if you don't get any extra money, you're still in a really good situation and you should still be fine. Now, the ambassador star helps you find people to help you manage your wealth without so much effort on your part. And the pressure is off making your decisions where you really don't have all the information you would like or you might actually need to make a good decision. So and that's especially true for this first half, is that and most of the time, if you're a lot more wealthy than other people, you already have an advisor. So, but you're looking to reduce the stress about your wealth. And the rest door helps you be more relaxed and appreciative of your lucky circumstances. So you start caring more about your family life. You start caring probably more about your health, and about your relationships with the rest door. And that almost always makes you feel makes you much more happy, because your life is much more well-rounded, and it's really the people that are around you ultimately make the difference between being happy and unhappy. Um, so, I mean, I think when you get older, you basically realize that. So now, in all cases, you can use the first day of with the right day chart to manifest, either to discover the source of your problem, or if you know it, you're going to look for the best solution for you, or at least a good one. Two people with the same problem may have different solutions. So, and they may even have the same source of the problem. They just are different people, so they need a different type of a solution. Now, um, after that first day of manifesting, and you can even start on that same day, you can work on any of the days to continue to either find or solve your problem. So this is something you do have to put effort in. You can't just manifest and think everything will be fine. Now, you want to work in a good sector of your residence and face your success direction. That is key. So if you have to back to a certain direction for the manifestation, that is not necessarily facing your success direction. It might be, but it might not be. So you just have to make sure that once you're done with the manifestation, you turn and you're going to face your success direction. And being in a good sector of your house is a very good idea. Now, again, after 2 months of regular attempts to either find or solve the problems without any visible improvements, mean you're going to have to manifest on another day with the same properties, and you may have to be a little more open to what the universe is telling you, because perhaps it just says, maybe you realize your problem with not being able to hold down a job is you're too stubborn. But you just say, I don't think that's a problem, but in reality it is the problem. Then you have to, usually the first thing you think about is the real problem, but a lot of times you reject it because you don't want that to be the problem. And if you really are a stubborn person, yes, it's hard to change, but you just have to be a little more open. And that usually is enough to get the ball rolling. And once you see it works, you actually become less stubborn. Now, you need to know how to perform a manifestation. And if you do know, you can stop the video right now, because that's all I'm going to talk about to the end. But basically, you sit, you relax, take some slow, deep breaths, clear your mind. So it's a lot like meditation. And when you feel relaxed and calm, you're going to read or recite your manifestation. And it's not a bad idea to write it down beforehand, unless you really, really are sure you can remember it. Now, your manifestation should be short. One sentence is enough. I know some people have it takes them, 2 minutes, 3 minutes just to read what they've written down. I think that's too much information for the universe to help you. It should be a simple sentence, like let's say you're in the situation where you're not holding down jobs, you can't find steady work, and you don't know why. Your sentence should be, help me discover why I keep having problems finding steady work. That's it. One simple sentence. Now, a manifestation should not take more than 10 minutes. And if you can clear your mind quickly, and the more you practice, the easier it is. If a manifestation can take as little as 2 minutes. It just depends on how long it takes you to calm down, get relaxed, get into a state of mind where your mind is more receptive to, because your mind usually knows what's going on. It's your unconscious mind that knows this, or at least something more in the background. It is your conscious mind that is busy with everyday life that hides it. Now, if you cannot calm down in 10 minutes, take a break. If you can, take a walk outside, 5-10 minute walk, then try again. If you have the time. If you don't, still take that walk, and maybe then try later that day. And that's why I like the day chart. Now, Your actions after manifestation are equally important, if maybe not more important. At the very least, you have to think about why the problem exists and list the possible reasons. You're going to reflect on that list later, but it can help you decide on where the source of your problem lies if you really are not sure. And if you know where the problem lies, then you're going to be spending your time to look for solutions. Oftentimes, you look for people who had similar problems and see what they did. There's usually several ways to solve a problem, but one of them will like resonate with you. You'll say, okay, I think I can do this, and it makes sense. That's the one you do. And then you have to actually do it. You have to start working uh, to solve the problem. You can't just say, oh, I know how to do it and not do it. That doesn't work. So that's it. I'd like to thank you for watching. And if you're still with me, really thank you, because this was a very long one. And so if you have any questions, you can email me here or you can leave a comment. And this is my coffee store, but there's really nothing to do with that you're going to need for using the Cheeman day charts. So you don't need anything from my store. But thanks for watching.